Welcome to the strategic management module. The course code for your module is ST40D4. My name is S. Dube and I'm going to be the presenter for this module. First, let's look at the course content, what it is that we're going to be covering in this module. We'll look at Introduction to Strategic Management, Environmental Scanning, Strategic Management of HIV and AIDS Program, Strategic Planning for HIV and AIDS Programs, Supply Chain Management, Human Capacity Development, Core Indicators for the Implementation of the Declaration of Commitment on HIV/AIDS, Monitoring and Evaluation of National HIV and AIDS Strategic Plans, Governance and HIV and AIDS Management. Learning Outcomes. The course aims to equip students with skills for strategic planning for HIV and AIDS programs at national and organizational level. The course also aims to equip students with pertinent knowledge and skills required in the construction of monitoring and evaluation indicators for HIV and AIDS services. It also provides information and best practices helpful for strategic management of HIV/AIDS programs. Also, to give guidelines on formulation, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation of HIV and AIDS programs. The introductory overview. This module looks at the development and role of national and HIV/AIDS strategic plans and the fundamental principles, broad strategies and institutional frameworks, but also the intermediate steps that need to be achieved in order to change the current epidemic situation faced by a country into one that represents the objectives to be reached. The module explores how strategic planning takes on issues underlying determinants into account, which vary according to the persons concerned, e.g., their social class, religion, culture, gender, specificities, etc., and according to the situation that may alter rapidly over time. Strategic planning means adapting norms to a given or changing situation. This module is set up in units or sections that are easy to study and give practical guidelines in formulating, implementing, and monitoring and evaluation of national strategic plans. During the past 15 years, many different approaches have been adopted in an attempt to slow the spread of HIV and minimize its impact on individuals. I wouldn't say 15 years anymore. Perhaps we now are talking about 3 decades. It is now clear that there is no simple formula that works for all countries. The most effective national response are those designed to meet the specific needs of the country. They attack the particular situations that make people vulnerable to HIV and its impact and make use of particular strengths of the country's people and institutions. Governments engaged in the development planning must understand the real magnitude of HIV/AIDS problems in their country. They must also have an idea of the epidemic's likely consequences on the individuals and families and on the society's overall development. On that basis, they must learn to decide what importance and priority level they want to attach to actions aimed at reducing the spread of the HIV and mitigating its impact. This implies focusing on strategies that change its course and securing the resources to implement them. It also means that these strategies will become an integral part of the country's overall development plan. Strategic planning allows governments as well as planners at a more decentralized level to make informed decisions so they can change the current situation to their objective. The different options discussed in this manual should meet the needs of planners at national level for building a more general strategic framework for HIV/AIDS action. In addition, as international efforts to increase access to healthcare and pharmaceutical and support services for people living with HIV and AIDS and their families are strengthened, the need for information on monitoring and evaluation also grows. The different options discussed in this manual should meet the needs of planners at national level for building a more general strategic framework for HIV and AIDS action. And in addition, as international efforts to increase access to healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and supportive services for people living with HIV and AIDS and their families are strengthened, the need for information on monitoring and evaluation also grows. M&E indicators are intended to provide information for local, national, and international programs on key trends in the delivery of HIV/AIDS services. Monitoring and evaluation activities allow country health authorities and their partners to assess the extent to which programs are being implemented and are achieving the intended objectives. Tracking trends over time through routine monitoring and evaluation efforts will help program managers and decision makers in assessing how successful programs are in meeting goals. Pragmatic, well-coordinated, and strategic monitoring and evaluation activities are essential to minimize the burden of data collection on country partners while maximizing the usefulness of monitoring and evaluation of data for decision making. Tracking trends over time through routine monitoring and evaluation efforts will help program managers and decision makers to assess how successful programs are meeting goals. Pragmatic, well-coordinated, and strategic monitoring and evaluation activities are essential to minimize the burden of data collection on country partners while maximizing the usefulness of monitoring and evaluation of data for decision making. Maybe before we look at the assignment, I would like to stress that when we hear the word strategy, most of us, we wonder what exactly this word is all about. If you go into literature, you learn that, or you realize that strategy comes from, it's a military term, which talks about a proactive action plan, often adopted by military strategists on how best they can tackle their enemies. So this module plays a very, very important role as you finalize your 4-year degree, as it will give you some insights alongside issues of planning, issues of policy formulation, scrutinizing documents, monitoring and evaluation, which is a very important component of HIV/AIDS management. Because from the slides, you can tell that there is in order for us or for decision makers or policy makers to really make informed decision, we need data, we need information to tell us where are we going right, where are we getting it wrong, and how can we work out using that data to really make informed decision that can create a change in the fight against HIV and AIDS. So going to our assignments, you realize that this module is basically a year module, and you are required to do 8 assignments. 4 assignments during your first semester and the other 4 in your last semester. And if you go to your tutorial later, all the technical details about how you are supposed to write your assignments are clearly spelled out. And maybe before we go into more details, I would like to stress the fact that in order for you to really do justice to your assignment and produce good pieces of work, I cannot overemphasize the value of reading broadly. Reading broadly meaning you have to consult some of these resources that are reflected in your assignments. And in addition to that, this module is a very practical module. It will actually challenge you to visit the authorities within the Ministry of Health, the authorities within the public service, the authorities within the NGO sector, so that they can give you some insights into your topic. And if you can do that, I can tell you it will really enrich your assignments and the quality of the presentation of your work as you go along. I also want to draw you to attention of this very interesting read, which you can actually make use of. It's a cross-cutting book rather. So there's this book called HIV and AIDS Education, Care and Counseling. It's a multiple disciplinary approach. This is the 5th edition by Outer van Dyke. Currently, there's a 6th edition. So it's very important that as you go through this module on strategic management, you also consult that book as much as possible, because it will help you a lot in gaining insight. Another book which I strongly recommend is this book by Gerard Egan. It's called The Skilled Helper. It's also a very exciting book, because as you go along your strategic management module, you also need to understand where does all this fit into the world of HIV and AIDS. It will help you quite a lot at the end of the day in ensuring that you get maximum output as you do your assignments. So let's go to our assignment 1. The assignment 1 reads as follows. The National Strategic Framework recently came to an end. And the evaluation of the outcome of this plan and the key lessons which came out the National Strategic Framework came to an end recently. Evaluate the outcomes of this plan and the key lessons which came out of this strategic plan and the ministry's way forward for the next plan. You realize that the history of HIV has been such that there have been a lot of plans, MTP1, MTP2, MTP3, and then the National Strategic Framework, which ended sometimes in early this year. Early 2017. I wouldn't say this year because you are now in 2018. So what this means is I would like you to get hold of this evaluative report. I know it has been evaluated. If you go to the Ministry of Health, they will actually they will give you that report. So in this assignment, you are required to identify the key lessons. What exactly came out of this this module? Not this module rather, but this strategic plan. What were the achievements? What were the lessons learned? And what is the next way forward in order to combat the scourge of HIV and AIDS in Namibia? Assignment 2. Good corporate governance is a cornerstone for ensuring that organizations are run effectively and efficiently. Critically analyze the NAM code in line with HIV/AIDS management in Namibia. Give relevant examples in the Namibian context. So once again, the issue of keywords. HIV/AIDS management requires good corporate governance. If you go the route of good corporate governance, we have got the King 3 reports. I think currently, if I'm not mistaken, we talk about King 4. However, Namibia developed their own, which is called the NAM Code. So in order for us to understand how a management should behave and how they should conduct themselves, you are therefore required to really look at this NAM Code and link this NAM Code to HIV/AIDS management in Namibia, and you can give and you are required to give the examples in the Namibian context. So what it means is that you need to get a copy of the NAM code. I'm very confident that you can get this copy from Deloitte & Touche, the auditing firm, the auditing and accounting firm. I'm sure PwC also has got one. And if you check within FNB, you can also get a copy of that. And from there, you can look at what is contained in that book, and then you attempt your assignment based on that. Assignment number 3, the National Development Plan 5, or what we call NDP 5 of Vision 2030, was launched recently. Comment on the key elements of NDP 5 and explain in detail the monitoring and evaluation tool in that document. I'm sure you are very much aware. If I go back perhaps to HIV studies, HIV/AIDS studies, module 3, it must be chapter unit 3, if I'm not mistaken, unit 2 or 3, somewhere there. There is focus on Vision 2030. Vision 2030, I want to believe you are aware by now that it is a national document, it's a national strategic plan where the policymakers are envisaging to take Namibia to. And therefore, in order to achieve Vision 2030, the government decided to come up with what we call the National Development Plans, or what is commonly known as the NDPs. Currently, NDP 5 has come and gone, NDP 2 has come and gone, NDP 3 has come and gone, and NDP 4 is what we've been looking at very, very recently. And recently, the president of the country, Dr. Hage Geingob, launched NDP 5. It's a very wonderful document. I've read it a couple of times, and I will encourage you to go to the National Planning Commission to get a copy of yourself. And I've seen many NDPs, but I can tell you this one is really, really written in such a way that even a grade 5 pupil can actually go through it. It has got all the details inside. Therefore, as an HIV/AIDS manager, you must remember that HIV managers don't work in isolation from the national strategic plans. We work within that framework. We may not do everything, but we look at areas where we feel this is our area where we can actually focus on, given our resources. And therefore, I would like you to really get hold of this copy, and then from there look at those key elements. And in that document also, there's a very detailed monitoring and evaluation tools. And I would like you to go through them and highlight them in your assignment as well. Assignment 4, ethical leadership is imperative in strategic management. Discuss and give relevant examples in the public, private, and NGO sector. So ethics is a very big issue in our day-to-day lives, especially nowadays. There's never been a time when we needed ethical leadership, be it in government, be it in the public sector, be it in the private sector, or in the NGO sector. So first of all, you need to acquaint yourself with keywords like ethics. You need to look at keywords like leadership. Then from there you look at ethical leadership, what it is, and also the imperativeness in strategic management. Because you must remember that all these elements are tied to good governance. And the more the leader behaves or leads ethically, there are a lot of multipliers in the process. So we would like you to really look at this concept and give relevant examples as indicated in the assignment. Assignment 5. Corporate social responsibility, or what other people corporate social investment, CSR or CSI. Comment on the depth of SCR or SCI in the Namibian context in the fight against HIV, and how companies can strategically position themselves in the face of donor funding withdrawal. We are very much aware that until now, Namibia has been elevated by the World Bank to the upper middle income country. And what this simply says, or what the World Bank is saying, is that there's a lot of money. Namibia has got enough money to take care of itself and all the other problems it has, while we focus on other countries who really need donor funding. But now we are aware of the concept of what we call corporate social responsibility, or what some people call corporate social investment. What is the depth of this investment in the country? Because what it simply means is that companies are required to give say between 1%, maybe I'm not sure the threshold, but it's from 1% of their profits before tax to corporate social investment. So the concept is about plowing back to the community where these companies are actually making their profits from. So we would like you to look at this concept. How deep is this concept? What is the depth of corporate social responsibility? How much funds are being allocated to HIV and AIDS? How much effort are being done or channeled by companies to corporate social responsibility? So what this simply means is that perhaps you need to approach a couple of companies in Namibia, companies like MTC, the mobile giant, NamPower, the power utility company, GIPF, companies like NamPost, Standard Bank Namibia, FNB or Bank Windhoek. So you have to approach these companies and try to do some investigations on how they are actually channeling their corporate social investment or their CSR in the fight against HIV, and how companies can actually start to take some of these responsibilities. Because you must remember that in human resources, there's what we call a labor pool. Companies take their labor from the community. And if those communities are affected by HIV or infected by HIV, and as we have seen in the previous modules, HIV affects everyone. No one is spared from HIV, and hence the need to have some insights around this aspect. Assignment 6 reads as follows. Comment in detail the blueprint plan by the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation and Social Welfare. What role do you see yourself as an HIV coordinator playing in the mainstreaming of this plan in HIV programs in your organization? Once again, if you go back to the inauguration of the sitting president in 2015, he, for the first time, established the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation and Social Welfare. I want to believe that Namibia is the only country in the world which has got a ministry dedicated to poverty alleviation. And also, if you look at issues of poverty, if you go to the Sustainable Development Goals, which were agreed upon by the world leaders at the UN General Assembly in 2015, they actually put poverty eradication as number 1, and ending poverty and ending hunger is number 2. So you perhaps need to acquaint yourself with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They are called the SDGs, if you may want to say. There are 17 of them. So you need to go to the UN website and look at all these and look at all the goals, and then you see where this whole concept is coming from. And the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation has been hard at work, and they came up with a blueprint. I must say that I was very privileged. A couple of weeks back, I managed to attend the popularization of the blueprint. And mostly I was very much interested in the implementation plan, what it is that the government would like to actually, the ministry is going to do to implement this plan, to make sure that this plan actually comes into fruition. So we would like you to really get hold of this copy of the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation, the blueprint, read it through, and then look at those strategic pillars and try to find out. So you must get the blueprint document itself, right? Secondly, try to get hold of the implementation plan. And then also, the third thing that you must get hold of is the leaflet or the flyer. These 3 key documents are going to give you a lot of insight as you are trying to attempt this assignment. Assignment 7. Critically evaluate the entire supply chain management of the Ministry of Health and Social Services procurement system of HIV/AIDS-related goods and services. So You realize if you go back to our course content, we spoke about the concept of supply chain management. You realize that in order for us to fight HIV and AIDS, there's a lot of procurement of goods and services by Ministry of Health, from service providers, both locally and internationally. So we want you to take a look at how does the ministry actually procure goods, various goods and services along the entire value chain, right up to the point of delivery. When people say, for example, go for HIV testing, those test kits, when people go for further testing, let's say laboratory and all these other issues and what have you. So we would like you to really take a closer look. And this assignment would also require you to have conversations with people in the Ministry of Health who are working within the stores department or in the procurement division, in order for you to get some very, very thorough understanding about what exactly is going on. And also, there is no harm in comparing what is happening in Namibia and also what is happening elsewhere. And assignment 8, which is your last assignment, critically analyze the Harambee Prosperity Plan and its relevance to strategic management and give relevant examples. If you go back once again, when the current president took power, he identified some key areas in NDP4. Because you must remember that the country has got very few years left behind to get to Vision 2030. Hence, there is a need to sort of speed up the process, because there are worries that at the rate or at the pace at which things are moving, the country may not achieve all its target. So the current president actually identified certain key areas in NDP5, some of which NDP4, and some of these areas have even spilled over to NDP5. And the whole idea is, let's speed up the process, let's work harder, let's give Vision 2030 a bit of energy in order for us to really get where we want to go. So if you look at the Harambee Prosperity Plan, and where do you get this document? If you go on the Office of the President website, you can actually download this document. Depending on your ability, you can actually print out that document, bind it nicely, because sometimes you need to make some notes while you are reading. And if I look at this document, it's very well tied to strategic management. It has to do, you see, like I said earlier, if you look at NDP5, if you look at Harambee Strategic Plan, Harambee Prosperity Plan, you can see strategic management at work. Very, very thorough and very, very fine to the details, including monitoring and evaluation. And we want you to give some relevant examples as you go through that. In conclusion, students are strongly encouraged to read extensively before attempting the assignments. My contact details are readily available in your tutorials. Feel free to contact me. Happy reading and exciting journey ahead.